vintage dude. So we have been talking about the 6 pillars, and particularly this week we're talking about the pillar of marriage and family life. And as I talk with clients, talk to people really over 30 years of time, nobody really wants to hurt somebody else, but sometimes it happens. Sometimes we do hurt other people. And then what do we do about it? How do we fix it? How do we go about at least trying to repair what has been injured or broken, the relationship that's been injured or broken? This is so very important when it comes to your marriage and my marriage, or as a parent, as a dad. So important that we are able to repair things that are broken. And let's face it, you and I have certain personalities and neurocognitive wiring that make us who we are. And in that particular makeup, sometimes we are impulsive or project-driven or achievement-oriented. We're just performance-oriented people sometimes. We may have this attitude of prove them wrong, because your whole life somebody has said to you, you can't, you won't, you'll never, you don't deserve. And so you want to prove people wrong, and that's part of the motivation why you work so hard and get so much done, achieve so much. But also you may have outside of the box thinking, and that has also helped with your success, that you're able to see things differently than other people do. So as much as this may have resulted in making you who you are and achieving what you have achieved, it can also, admit it, it can also lead to offending other people. And this can be people at your work or vendors, but it can also be people that you love. You can maybe more easily than some other people do things that end up offending your children or your spouse. And so what do we do when that happens? Let's just assume that that is going to happen from time to time. You don't want it to happen. It's not in your heart that you want it to happen, but what are we going to do when that does happen? And so this is where we talk about, you've heard the word, apologies. We want to make apologies to people. And we want those apologies to lead us to repair the situation, fix things, and restore relationships. That's what we want. So the apology is targeted toward forgiveness, asking for forgiveness from people. So there are different steps in this, and I am constantly surprised with how often these 5 steps that I'm going to give you, people are usually good with like 3 of them, but there are some of these steps that people have never considered ever, and they're people in their 30s, 40s, 50s. So let's just go through them, and let me share them with you, and let's just see how they might apply to your life. If you're taking notes, go ahead and write these down, but you'll always have the video. So the first thing is we want to take responsibility for what it is we actually did. We want to own what it is we did. So none of these wimpy apologies where you say, gee, I'm really sorry that you felt that way. That's not an apology. That's actually just putting the responsibility on the other person and blaming them for what happened. So forget that. Take responsibility like a man for what it is that you did. Own it. I did this, and that hurt somebody else. And if you have regret or remorse in your heart, then that's what you want to communicate. So you want to own up for what it is that you did, and then you want to apologize to the person that you hurt for what it is that you did. You apologize to them. Thomas à Kempis, maybe 500-600 years ago, said, I would rather feel contrition than know how to define it. And that's what we want, is we want some contrition here and to apologize for exactly what you did. When I did this, I know it hurt you. It's my fault. I'm really sorry. And then the next thing you want to ask is don't jump right to, will you please forgive me? Because you haven't fixed anything. The next thing you want to do is ask, what can I do to make it right? I did this, it damaged you. I did this, it hurt you. I did this, it dented your car. It hurt your dog. I don't know what it is you did, but what can I do to make it right is the next question. Now, this question dates all the way back to Moses, where in the Mosaic law, in Moses' writings, when he's telling people how to deal with this stuff, the big central issue is you got to make it right. Don't go to God and ask for forgiveness without making it right. Don't go to the person even and ask for forgiveness without making it right. Ask them, what can I do to make it right? Their ox falls in a ditch. You hurt their ox. The whole village is going to be hurt because they need oxen to farm the fields, right? What can I do to make it right? You need to replace what you broke. You need to replace the ox. If you stole money from somebody, you need to give it back, plus 20%. You need to do whatever you need to do to make it right. So that's the question. You own what you did. You apologize for what you did, and then you ask, what can I do to make it right? And when you get the answer, you do it. You do what you need to do to make things right. And then you can come to the person that you've hurt, offended in some way, and then you can say, would you please forgive me? Would you offer forgiveness to me? I would like the relationship to be restored. Would you please forgive me for what I did? Because I'm very sorry about it. And then you assure that person you are going to do everything that you can to change so that you never do it again. You don't do it again. Think of how many times in your life somebody has apologized to you for what they did, and you give them 15 minutes or 15 days or 15 weeks and they're doing it again because they haven't changed. We want these events to bring us to a place where we actually change. That we are truly remorseful for it, that we renounce it. We're not going to do it anymore. It hurts other people. And so we want to truly change from that. So part of asking for forgiveness is offering the assurance that you're going to do everything you can to change so it never happens again. And then finally at that point, that's when you go to God and you say, okay, God, I have done everything I can to make this right. I have asked for forgiveness from the person. They've extended it to me. Now, God, would you please forgive me? We live in interesting times where in our modern style of Christianity, we skip over all these steps. We do something to hurt somebody. We don't even talk to them. We just go right and talk to God and say, hey, please forgive me. Oh, I know God's forgiven me. So it's done. And if that person has a problem with what I did, that's their fault. They're the bad people now. They're the people who need to get in trouble because they're obligated in some way to forgive me, even though I don't do anything to make things right. That's just silly. After you have owned what you did, after you have apologized for it, after you have asked, what can I do to make this right? After you have done what you need to do to make it right, after you have asked if they, in their heart, can extend forgiveness to you to restore the relationship, and after you give them all the true-hearted assurances that you can, that you're going to do everything you can, that it never happens again, that you're going to change your habit, you're going to change whatever, so it doesn't happen again, then you go to God. And then you say, God, now would you please forgive me for this? And would you give me the strength to go through my life and not do this again and not hurt somebody else like this ever again? Would you give me that strength? And that's the process of an apology that actually changes things. It changes relationships. It changes us. It changes the world around us. That's the kind of apology to have. Now think about this. Let's say you promised your kids you're going to be somewhere and you didn't go. Think of how that works out, right? You take responsibility for not being there. Don't make excuses. Don't say, well, this client called and it was really important. Your kid doesn't want to hear that. Your kid doesn't care. You own what you did and you apologize to your child for not being where you said you were going to be. You apologize for exactly what you did. Own it. And then you ask, what can I do to make this right? And let your child figure out what you can do to make it right. And then you do it. And after you've done it, then you come back to them and you ask, can you forgive me for what I did, not showing up when I promised I'd show up? Can you forgive me for that? Please forgive me. And I am going to work on this in my life that it never happens again. I'm going to do everything I can in my life so it never happens again. It may, there may be a fire or a flood or whatever, but it's going to be something like that to keep me away from keeping a promise to you for the rest of my life. I'm going to do the best I can. And then you go to God and you say, God, I blew it with my kid, and I think I've worked it out with him. Can you forgive me for it as well? And so this is how it works out in real life. Please use something like this to make your family stronger, your marriage stronger, your relationship with your kids stronger, to make things better in your work environment, so you can be a better husband, so you can be an even better father, so you can be an even better employer, an even better man. That's what we want, for you to be an even better man than you are today.